kinda, so I'm gonna have to, that's okay, Don, I'm good. I got the.
No, we'll just use your pen, Mr.
There
Chair.
you go. So we'll call this meeting to order. This is the July 12th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Item 2 on the agenda is our citizens' comments, and it's an opportunity for our citizens to address the commission with comments, questions about the planning and zoning related matters that are not part of this public hearing. And I would limit them to 3 minutes apiece. Is anyone here to have a public comment that's unrelated to our public hearing tonight? You're sure welcome to come up and take a shot. Seeing none, that is great. Item number 3, we're going to approve the minutes of, I can't even remember how long ago that was. Was it
May
a month ago?
24th.
Yeah.
Okay, and everyone had a chance to review those minutes? Everything looked fine?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve those minutes as submitted.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes as written. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries. Okay, item. Okay, we approved the minutes.
4.
Nice. Number 4, public hearing and related actions. We are going to have a public hearing tonight, and we're going to deliberate, and we're going to come up with that reason statement. And the statement's going to be for a application for a zone change, 23-5 by Joe and Francis McCann, Family Limited Partnership. The applicant proposes that an undeveloped tax parcel, 35W005900, accepting that portion lying east of Gun Club Road containing approximately 18 acres, generally located west of Gun Club, north-south is bisected by Nez Perce Drive. And they're asking to be rezoned from an agricultural transition in F2 to a regional commercial C6. And this is a quasi judicial matter. So the way it's gonna work, we're gonna open the public hearing. We'll have a staff presentation. Joel is taking Katie's place today. Appreciate that. And let's get the party started. After that, we'll have the applicant give some testimony. Anybody from the public is welcome to come up as well. And then we'll close the public hearing and deliberate. So without further ado, Joel, thanks for coming tonight.
You betcha.
What do you got for us?
Well, let's see. I'm Joel Plaskon, Lewiston City Planner. And I think we're going to begin with some maps, just to get everyone oriented. So this is an aerial photograph with north up. I'm gonna have to adjust the size of this here, it looks like. And I'm gonna have to reorient it. Keep going. Okay, now north is up. So bold black bubble in the middle is surrounding the subject property, the property that's proposed for rezoning tonight. That curved road that you see cutting through the southwest corner of the property is Nez Perce Drive. On the very right-hand side of the subject property, inside that blue dashed line, which is the city limit line, is Gun Club Road. The big white building footprint that you see to the southwest of the subject property is Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. So that'll hopefully get everyone oriented. And actually, this is the high water reservoir up here in the northwest part of the picture. Let's see what else we got here. This is the same thing with the zoning layer turned on. So the green color indicates the properties that are zoned agricultural transitional F2, which includes the subject property right now. To the south and to the west of that, the tan color indicates planned unit development zone. In this case, that's the Nez Perce Terrace PUD. And as described in the staff report, that's a mix of local commercial and mixed-use zoning at this time. So you can see to the north is also F2 ag transitional. To the east is in the county. That's an ag zone in the county to the east. And then way off to the left in the upper left corner, you can see some regional commercial and some general commercial. This is another one that I've got to rotate here. So this is just a closer up view of the subject property. You can see quite a bit of scarring on the land. The darker spots are rock piles or gravel piles. There is some extreme topography through the subject property. It sits much higher than Gun Club Road, particularly to the north end of it. The subject property, this is kind of unusual condition here. We're being asked to consider rezoning a property that's split by a road. And actually, there's a part of the property that extends also to the east across Gun Club Road. And I want to point out that the sliver of it that's on the east side of Gun Club Road, if you can see that faint red line that indicates the subject property east tax parcel line, that this is not part of the rezone proposal. And the reason for that is we just didn't feel it was appropriate to rezone a strip of land to commercial that directly abuts a piece of property that's got a single family home on it. And this is primarily undevelopable anyway. There's a drainage running through there. But the rezone application does include this small piece on the south side of Nez Perce Drive here. This is the aerial photograph with the topographic layer turned on. This is showing both 10 and 2 foot contour intervals. So you can see the extreme topography of the subject property, particularly, well, it's hard to see the cursor, but anyway, the close proximity of those white lines indicates steep topography. So that's some GIS mapping. And to get a little bit more up close and personal, we'll look at some photographs I took of the property. This is looking basically north-northeast at the curb cut to the property. This is looking directly across the street to the southerly, to that part of the subject property that's on the south side of Nez Perce Drive. This is looking west up Nez Perce Drive in front of the subject property. This is looking east down Nez Perce Drive along the front of the subject property. This is looking directly into the subject property. Again, but I'm a little bit further than the first one I took out at the street. This one is looking west-southwest over this big pile of dirt, which is, again, there's a lot of fill on this property. Over this big pile of dirt, back behind it up there somewhere is Nez Perce Drive going west. This is looking north-northeast, or no, this is actually looking due east, down toward Gun Club Road. Property really dives off down here. Looking north-northeast through the subject property. This one's looking west-southwest, I believe. Due east again from another part of the subject property, another gravel pile you can see, and another pile of fill here. It's all overgrown with cheatgrass and thistle. This is looking south toward Gun Club Road. So the curb cut that you saw in the first picture that I took the first picture from is right over here, just out of sight. And this is looking north-northwest at the intersection of Nez Perce Drive with Gun Club Road. So this is the southeast corner of the subject property, that part of the subject property that's on the north side of Nez Perce Drive. This is looking northeast at the property across the street on the east side of Gun Club Road. So this, all this growth you see here along the roadside is that strip of land that's not part of the rezone application. This is more of the same. This is looking from Gun Club Road to the west at the east side of the subject property, or that part of it that's on the west side of Gun Club Road. So you can see the cliff there. Another shot of the same further to the north than the last one. And that concludes the photographs. Anybody have any questions at this point? Okay, then I'll do a verbal summary of the written staff report that was prepared for this application. Subject property is approximately 18 acres of vacant land. It's adjacent to Nez Perce Terrace Planning and Development. And it borders the county on the east side. Surrounding properties are commercial, as you heard from me when we were looking at the mapping, movie theater, motel, retail stores, SEL. There is some vacant land to the north and to the south. And also vacant land to the east across Gun Club. The land to the east is primarily vacant, but it does have a house on it. And that part of it adjacent to Gun Club Road is a creek drainage. In terms of the zoning circumstances, the current zone of the property, the F2 ag transitional zone, I wanted to point out, because when you look at a rezone application and consider your relevant criteria and standards, you always want to consider, is the subject property more appropriately zoned what it is versus what the proposed zoning is. And I always ask you to consider the purposes of the two different zones in question. In this case, the current zoning purpose of the property is to provide a transition zone from agricultural land uses to residential land uses within the city limits where centralized water and sewer are not available. That's particularly relevant here because the subject properties practically, it's not practical to be farmed, even though it's in basically a farm zone. And that has to do with the combination of the natural topography of the property, the man-made fill that's been placed on the property, and the gravel and rock piles that have been placed on the property. The purpose of the current zone is also where centralized water and sewer are not available, and that's not the case for the subject property. Water and sewer from the city are available. Uses primarily intended for the property under the current zoning are single-family residential, farming, bed and breakfast facilities, and family daycare services. So very low intensity uses. The proposed zoning is C6, regional commercial. The purpose of that zone is to encourage the establishment of areas for varied types of commercial uses and to meet the needs of the regional market area. Those uses shall be readily accessible from streets designated as principal or minor arterial streets as shown in the Lewiston Comprehensive Transportation Plan. That last part is relevant because the subject property does front minor arterial and collector street. Primary uses intended for the proposed zoning of the subject property. I'm not going to read the whole list, but car dealers, restaurants, banks, hotels, mini storage, large-scale daycare facilities, preschools, and professional and business offices, as well as service stations. One of your other criteria you've got to consider in these applications is the comprehensive plan. In this case, the subject property is in neighborhood number 3, East Lewiston. It's got a future land use designation on the comprehensive plan map of commercial. So the current zoning of the property is not consistent with the comprehensive plan designation. the proposed zoning of the subject property is consistent with the proposed zoning. There are some statements, goals or objectives, if you will, listed in the staff report out of the comprehensive plan that we thought were applicable to this application. I'm not going to read those. I do want to point out, though, kind of toward the middle of this comprehensive plan section in the written staff report, the part where it says neighborhood number 3 East Lewiston, and then the paragraph below that that says south of 18th Avenue. Those two are actually not applicable to this application. Maybe at the time this was written, it was thought that it was applicable, but it's actually referencing a different piece of property than the subject property. It's not referencing this property, it's referencing another parcel of land to the north. So I just wanted to point that out. Those parts of the comprehensive plan listed here are not applicable. In terms of the analysis done by staff, let's see, what have we not covered here already? I think it's important to consider that the neighboring property to the west and to the south in the Nez Perce Terrace PUD, those lands are zoned for uses that are more compatible with the proposed zoning of the subject property than with the existing zoning of the subject property. That's an important consideration. Let's see here. So I talked about the home across the street. Generally, it is, it can be concerning to rezone property to a regional commercial zone, which is one of our, it is our highest intensity commercial zone that we have in the city of Lewiston. To go to that level of zoning when the property directly abuts residential use. But in this case, there's a buffer, right? There's a huge topographical buffer. The subject property sits way, way up above where that house is. Then there's also Gun Club Road as a buffer. And then there's that drainage with all the thick vegetation in it between Gun Club Road and the house. So I just kind of want to point that out, that in this case, the general rule of thumb and the good planning practice to not rezone something from like C or F2 to C6 is not really a good idea when it abuts residential, but in this case, it's kind of a different story just due to the circumstances. Let's see here. I think that covers everything I wanted to point out to you. Be happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Chairman, could we go back to the map again? I just want to see on the map exactly where the residential is and where the Nez Perce Terrace is. The Nez Perce Terrace is commercial.
Can you see the cursor?
Yes.
It's hard. So this is the building footprint of the house, this white area with the red dot on it.
Okay, so that's the
That's where the house is located. And then this parcel of land to the north is the one that I mentioned during the comprehensive plan discussion of the staff report. That was referenced in those two comp plan statements that I said aren't applicable to this application, so I just wanted to point that out. But this is zoned F2 up here. So right here, to the west of the subject property and to the south of the subject property is all Nez Perce Terrace PUD. And you've got a map attached to your staff report that shows the zoning of that part of the Nez Perce Terrace PUD. And it's got, okay, so you can see what the zoning is.
It was sideways, so I had.
Oh, yeah, to rotate it, yep. Welcome.
Joel, do we know how far, or the distance between the houses in the Nez Perce Terrace and the subject property, distance-wise?
There aren't any houses currently in the Nez Perce Terrace PUD.
Well, okay, then I misspoke, the houses that are,
Down the Village Green
That's it.
addition,
yeah, Cypress Street and that stuff.
More at the top again.
Right.
yeah, the applicant's representative is saying 800 feet. I'm trying to pull up the GIS, but.
No, I mean, that's,
Okay.
I'll take that.
Okay.
Thank you.
One more question.
Sure.
So how many acres are in that little chunk across the road?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Just curious if it's gonna be
It
good
can't
for
be more
anything.
than
If it's good for anything.
50 feet wide, I'm guessing.
Oh, that little section
Yeah,
across the
that
road.
little section across, if it's gonna be really good.
So Joel, on that local commercial mixed use, ever any houses gonna be put in there? I mean, is that something?
It's allowed, that's all I can tell you.
That is allowed, houses are allowed in that. So.
They would be allowed on the upper floor of commercial uses, multifamily residential, basically apartments on top of commercial. Could be allowed.
Anyone else have questions for Joel? Thanks, Joel.
Appreciate it.
That completes the staff presentation. Is the applicant present? Care to give some testimony today? Name
Chairman,
and
Commissioners, Eric Hasenerl, Phillips Engineering, 315 Adams Lane. I think Joel did an excellent job of kind of describing the area. I'm certainly willing to answer some more questions that you might have. I would like to just kind of give some point of reference or some historical context to this. The Nez Perce Terrace PUD has multiple zones in it and was started back in 1999. So we're getting there, we're almost there. This was a parcel of land that was not part of the PUD, much like if you saw the zoning map, you saw some C6 north of the PUD, which is like, we call it Juniper Extended or 23rd Street. This parcel here was necessary to be acquired to facilitate Nez Perce Drive. It was, yeah, you can see the dark red. So this parcel was necessary to be acquired to put in Nez Perce Drive. After working with city staff, we looked at a lot of different solutions for Nez Perce Drive. This is the one that basically won out, right? So they acquired this parcel and then used some of the material that was blasted and removed from the road, you see, was put onto the parcel to start creating pads. And when you put material on there, it's easier to place it in a more level condition than to place it in slope. As you can see from Scenic Crest subdivision, which is below on the bottom of this picture, the very first thing, which is, SEL, you see it on the left-hand side, they have a buffer zone. It's about, I think, 100 feet, something like that, or 120 feet. On the right-hand side, what's happening is there's low-density residential for like the first 200 feet. Then it goes to high-density residential, and then it goes into local commercial. So the PUD was set up to create that transition, and the commercial zone is within 300 feet of Nez Perce Drive, seeing that in order to facilitate commercial development, it needs that kind of pass-by traffic. So this parcel certainly fits well in with the commercial zone than with the residential zone, just because it's on the west side or the left of the picture, and on the bottom, it's all local commercial. That is local commercial mixed use, so they can only do, as Joel was saying, apartments above commercial zone. So it is the new kind of model, or the way things are developing. It's our new economy, right? Commercial on the base floor and residential above. That works where you don't have high-intensity commercial, much like you see in the Nez Perce Terrace Plaza in the shopping center. Those, it just doesn't quite fit that they would have apartments above those types of high-intensity commercials zone or buildings. But anyway, back to this. So it was F2, looking to zone change it to a C. It fits well into the Nez Perce Terrace PUD. It certainly fits well into the city's system as well. Gun Club Road and Nez Perce Drive are the truck routes that deliveries would come and use. The SEL uses it quite extensively. And in fact, a lot of their deliveries are done at night where there isn't much traffic, so they're doing it in the off times, which facilitates truck drivers where they're not mixing with cars. And so this fits well because it's also on that truck route zone as to zone change to commercial. So I'm here on behalf of the applicant and certainly requesting approval of this to commercial. And there is kind of the intent is to try to develop this parcel in the next year or so. So there is a bird in hand, so to speak, of a project that could fit very nicely to this parcel. It would fit well into the community. Our community certainly needs more commercial zone. It's one of the things that was kind of missing in our comprehensive plan. You know, when this was contemplated, it was only a commercial zone in the downtown and along Thane Road or 21st Street. It's something, as Lewiston continues to grow, as we start seeing more and more people come to the area. I mean, what will Lewiston look like when we have 100,000 people? You know, we're going to, we're slowly moving, right? I mean, it's been a long time. We've kind of been stagnant at the same population, but we certainly see a lot more phone calls of people out of the state buying property sight unseen and that want to move here. So we just need to make sure that we're doing an orderly development, that those things fit well into the city system, that those things are being able to be maintained by the city and fit the needs of our citizens. And I certainly think that this zone change fits very well into that system. Here to answer any questions you might have or to talk about the parcel.
Well thought out. Looks great. Commissioner Wong?
Yeah, I do. So Nez Perce Drive, the extension that carried from essentially the theater down to Gun Club is a beautiful piece of work. My next question though is Gun Club Road itself is a little rustic and narrow. Is it city or county, and is there any long-term plans to, and room to make it higher traffic worthy?
Very good question, very good question. Gun Club Road comes off 10th Street, matches in down at the bottom at Lindsay Creek Road, is a very unique road. And in that sense, it is in the county, in the city, in the county, in the city, in the county. And it is being claimed by the county. It's not being claimed by the city. It's law enforced or speed ticketed by the county and not by the city. So, but it's a road that I think there needs to be some city-county discussion so that we can, again, create orderly development. The road currently is, well, it was the road to the mill, right, historically. And cars used to be a 45 speed limit. And they would do 55 and 60. And in rush hour, they'd be, a road rally. They've toned it down and got it down to a 35. The thing that is nice for Gun Club Road, it is wide and it has lots of space. So it gives you that feeling you want to drive faster than the speed limit. However, at the top, it does, we call it technically wiggle waggle, moves back and forth, where you don't have long sight distances, plus the grade starts to steepen as it heads up toward 10th. That does slow the traffic down, but there still is that stretch north of this that in the county that has a straightaway and gives you that feeling you would like to drive faster than the speed limit. But it's a tweener, right? It's a county city, and there should be some discussion. I'm not saying the city should claim it, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to transition into a city street. But we need to look at getting funding to upgrade it. It's in very good condition. It doesn't have the rutting of 21st Street, the potholing. There are some spots that have patches. But when I look at the asphalt condition there, it's in fairly good condition. It could use some more striping to give you more guidance because there is no guardrail at the drop-off on the stream side. Now, there's blackberry bushes and it gives you the sense that there's some protection. But, anyway, we're getting too deep into the weeds. That discussion, I think, is forthcoming.
So if the county is claiming it, as you say, have they in any way, shape, or form expressed, I mean, has anybody heard from them regarding this new transition request, this plan, this zoning change?
Well, it just so happens, as you can see, this parcel fronts on that portion of Gun Club that's in the city, of which then the city gives comment and the county doesn't. So,
So, the answer to your question is yes. The county receives a copy of all of our public hearing notices, but we didn't get any input or comments from them on this.
Thank you.
My biggest question is, since the creation of Nez Perce Drive, the extension of it, and the location of the new high school, is the kind of prospective project going to take into consideration the fact that a lot of the kids that come from the Normal Hill area in the downtown Lewiston are using Nez Perce Drive and using Gun Club to access the high school?
very good question. And in fact, Nez Perce Drive was built with that intent. It is built to facilitate more traffic than is generated out of the Nez Perce Terrace PUD. We call that pass-through traffic, which you're speaking of. Traffic that originates in some other part of the city, but is using that as a bypass. They would use it even more if that road would get extended to the east, because it would go right into the school. So, but there's some topography to overcome.
Eric?
Anybody else?
Thank you. There was also a letter of support. I was wondering if that could be read.
We-
into the record, if that-
We are gonna get to that. Next item is testimony from the public. Blackston.
So we do have a letter, as Eric just mentioned, dated July 7th, addressed to the Planning and Zoning Commission from Bill Lawson. And I'm not going to read the entire letter during the public hearing, but I will say that it is in strong support of the rezone application in front of you tonight. And the letter will be made part of the official record of the public hearing as an attachment to the meeting minutes. And you received copies of the letter in advance, so you should have read it already.
We did read it.
Thanks, Joel. Before we close the public hearing, this is the last time we have a chance to ask any other questions for Eric or anyone else for the hearing. So it's your last chance. Any other commissioners care for any other comments? All right, we're going to close the public hearing. And we are going to take a look at those issues that Joel mentioned. And we're going to try to see if I can find, all right. Does everybody have the correct section?
Relevant
The
criteria.
relative contested facts relied upon, and we got the relative criteria for standards for a zone change. So without any further ado, let's dive right into this. Item number 1, the proposed rezone is or is not in general conformance with the Lewiston Comprehensive Plan. Gabe, what do you think?
I'd say it is. I'd say it's pretty clear cut it is, especially when the comprehensive plan mentions that transitioning it from, I forget the exact designation, from an ag transitional, to a C6 is what the comprehensive plan envisions for a property like this.
Anyone else have the same feelings or differing feelings? Okay. Item number 2, The subject property is or is not at least well-suited or is better suited for the proposed zoning district than the existing district. And I was taking some notes when Joel was talking about this, so, what do the rest of you think? What do you
Well,
think?
I looked at the pictures and all the rock piles and the topography, it's not suitable for farming. We're farmers.
I believe the terms that
And
Joel
it
used
looks
were-
like it's gonna need a lot of stuff to
Sure.
be done to develop for commercial, but that's certainly, in my mind, a much better use, highest and best use.
All right, number 3. The proposed rezone does or does not present foreseen immitigable impacts of incompatible uses or development being located in the same vicinity. This is kind of a tricky one. I say it does not at the present time, but we never know what's gonna happen with the property.
But I don't foresee any issues.
I don't see any.
And they talked to the engineering, and they had no problems with
Right.
it, the engineering department.
Even a gas station would look nice here. Maybe not.
Will there be something there?
Item number 4. The effects of the proposed rezone are or are not anticipated to place undue burden upon delivery of services provided by any political subdivision within the planning district, including the school districts. I say they are not anticipated to place any undue burdens.
No, there was
I think
nothing,
we're all good there.
no feedback given for that.
To that effect.
So, number 5, the size, type, intensity, and density of development expected to occur on the subject property as a result of this rezoning, I feel is suitable for the area and will not unduly burden the neighborhood, public infrastructure, or the environmental issues. Does anyone see it any different?
Agree.
Good on that?
The road will be able to handle it.
I think so.
And I think the topography creates that natural barrier for the homeowner
Yep.
across the
It
street.
does.
We'll have something new on Gun Club. I don't, this will be the only commercial thing on it, really, isn't it?
The winery.
Oh, the winery, sorry.
Yeah, it's just down the road.
Okay, so I think we're all in agreement. And all of those items that we covered, I would certainly look forward to a motion to approve this and direct the staff for a reason statement.
Chair,
Kevin?
I'll make that motion to direct staff to draft a reasoned statement in support of the zone change ZNC 35-5.
The motion's been made. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Thanks, Kathy. It's been moved and seconded that we have, to direct the staff to draft a reason statement for the zone change 23-000005. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. All right, item 5 on our agenda is our staff communication communications. Joel, do you have a?
I don't really
Prepared
have
for
much for you. Just let you know that we're plugging away on the comprehensive plan rewrite. I'm expecting some draft information from the consultant either by the end of this week or sometime early next week. We do have a second round of input that we've solicited from the steering committee on the comprehensive plan rewrite, having to do with the draft vision statement and the themes associated with that. So for those of you on the steering committee that have been attending those meetings, please respond to the survey and the email that Joe Moss from Logan Simpson sent out, asking for your input on the revised versions of those. Next meeting is scheduled for July 24th. I've asked Logan Simpson to do a presentation on a status report on the comp plan rewrite to the city council. That will occur most likely at one of their August work session meetings. think there might have more than one in August. I can't remember. Anyway, that'll be coming up soon, it's just FYI. The July 26th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, I don't think we have anything scheduled for that meeting. Originally, we were going to have something scheduled, we thought we were, an application for annexation, comp plan designation and zoning, but the applicant is having to rework that and resubmit, and we've not received what we need to schedule it again yet. So I guess while we're talking about that, what's the commission's pleasure in terms of that regularly scheduled meeting date? If we have no agenda items, is there anything? Oh, we've got thank you for reminding me. We have the reason statement approval for this. So if nothing else, we'll meet just for that.
There's that little thing.
Yeah.
Just a
Other than
minute
that, I
detail.
don't really think I have anything for you.
I just wanna comment too. I gave everyone a packet. It's got the updates based on new legislation that became effective July 1st, 2023, for you all to include in your packets regarding public records. And if for some reason it had an earlier effective date, it should be noted in there. But everything on there that's highlighted is now in effect.
Okay.
And then, so if you have any specific questions, just feel free to reach out. There are just some changes in definitions of different things, and that's been reflected in this packet update.
All good, I hope. Joel?
Thank you. So jumping back to the July 26th meeting, can we get a poll on who's planning to attend that meeting and who might not be able to make it?
I plan on it.
26th.
Okay, everybody here except Kevin.
26th is a
It is a
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It is a Wednesday.
I'm going to a Beyonce concert.
Oh.
What?
Yeah,
They're jealous.
Well,
Maybe
Kevin, I
I'd
would
go see
say
her.
I'm jealous, but I'm not a huge
That's right.
fan, so.
I'm not either, but I'm taking my girls to it, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair
Good
enough.
dad, good dad.
There you go.
Beyonce.
And I am a fan.
I mean,
He's a
it's
secret
Beyonce
fan.
in Detroit, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
What can be better?
Sounds awesome.
we're excited.
So, everyone plans to be here except for Kevin, who's going to the concert, and we expect some updates.
Going to
from
the
that,
concert.
TikTok or something. On the show.
I mean,
The last item on our agenda is item number 6, and I will make that motion to adjourn. I move we adjourn.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Oh, you beat me to it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? That carries. Thank you, team.
Thank you.
What a
you.
great